chapter 6.6 today. Day 1 of chapter 6.6. Tomorrow we'll come in and we'll do an activity where you will work together or work with me through a video on how to do this thing actually the way it's going to be on the test, and then we'll get ready to wrap up the week by reviewing on Thursday and taking the quiz and going on break for spring, so that's good. Other than that, before we put all the information from yesterday and today together, it's important to learn the last key piece of graphing inequalities. So far, if you noticed yesterday, all you had were greater than, equal to, less than, or equal to signs, and that is because the line doesn't do anything different than whenever we use the equal sign. But the less than or greater than sign without the line underneath, they work differently. So consider these examples of realistic things that you need to consider. 6 is greater than or equal to 6 is true, and that is because of the equal to portion of this symbol. Again, this is true because of the equal to part, because 6 is actually equal to 6, which is right. 6 is greater than 6 is not true. I could use 5.9, I could use 5.9999, I can get as close to 6 as I want to, but once that thing equals 6, it's no longer true. So that's why this is false, because you can't have 6 bigger than itself. 6 can't be bigger than itself. That's impossible. So you can have any number up to 6, you just can't use 6 in this situation because there's no line underneath. Same thing here. 3 is less than or equal to 3 because of the equal to part. Not because of the less than, but because of the equal to part, and that's because they are equal to each other. But 3 is not less than 3 because 3 is not smaller than itself. Again, you can make this 3.1, 3.01, 3.0001. As long as that is bigger than that number, you're fine, but you can get as close to that number as you want. You just can't put a 3 there. Okay? Because of the nature of the less than, greater than symbol, our line must indicate that the two sides cannot actually meet. And that is really what the less than symbol does, which is why I didn't want to have to introduce that to you yesterday. The way that we indicate the not equal part of the less than and greater than sign is by sketching a dashed line instead of a solid line. So what I mean by that is this line means that you can be anywhere on this line, and that's good. This line means you can get as close to that line as you want, you just can't touch it. Kind of like you can get as close to 3 as you want, you just can't put 3. Or you can get as close to 6 as you want, you just can't put 6. That dashed line says that point. So you can get as close to this number as you want to, but you cannot touch that line because that line is not going to be a good solution. So putting that together, looking at what we do here, we usually remember this is standard form, so we put x and 4, which is nice because it just gives me the answer 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 2y and 4, which means that y is obviously equal to 2, going up and drawing our line. Now here again is where you need to be careful, because putting that line there means that we are now dashing it, because you cannot actually equal this number since it's less or greater than 4, and that's where you have to pay attention. That's the only thing that's different, or that you have to add to yesterday's work, is that now when you see this symbol you have to put a dashed line instead. Other than that, we still ask 0, 0 the question. That means we still turn that into a 0, that into a 0, compare it to 4, and ask ourselves if this is true or false. Of course, this is not true because it should be opening towards the 4, and that means that this is not the good side. This is the good side, and everything else stays the same. Again, the only thing different now, as of yesterday, or from yesterday, is that if you see this symbol without the line under it, put a dashed line. The way I remember it is, if there's a line under it, that means I'm going to put an actual line. If there's not a line under it, that means my line is supposed to have holes in it. So this means put a regular line, this means put a dashed line because there's nothing under it, and that's the way I remember it. So as long as you understand what the difference is, it will be fine. Here, remember, this is slope-intercept form. That tells me to go up 1 and put a dot. This is telling me to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 2 and put a dot. And again, look at the symbol, recognize there's no line attached to it, or no line under it, which means that I am drawing a dashed line. I then pick a side, or actually pick 0, 0 and test it. So 0 less than, remember that whole thing turns into 0 plus 1. Is 0 less than 1? That actually is true. And because that is true, it means that this is the side I want to stay on. And so that is what I do. Alright? So putting all this together, we will do everything else in the graphing process the same. In the end, though, we have to look back at the sign to make a decision as to whether it's a solid or a dashed line. I'm going to work out a few problems to wrap up the video. Write these examples down, please, for your notes and show them to me when you get finished. But other than that, there's 4 questions for you to write. Please write these down so you can have everything you need, including my notes on how I did it, so you can use those for yourselves. Other than that, graph number 1, 4x minus 3y is 12. Remember, we first off take 4x and set it equal to 12. Excuse me. But we take 4x and set it equal to 12, which means that x is equal to 3. 1, 2, 3. We take negative 3y and set it equal to 12, which means, of course, since that's negative, 3 times 4 is 12, or you could divide that by negative 3. Again, if you don't know where those numbers are come from, just ask me. Negative 4, though, means go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at the sign, recognize that there's a line under it, which means that we are going to draw a regular line. Because there's a line, I'm going to draw a regular line. Now we test 0, 0, and everything else is the same. 0 minus 0 less than or equal to 12. Is 0 less than or equal to 12? Yes, it is. And so we stay on this side and shade that way. You do not need to waste a ton of ink and a ton of lead and make it a perfect color shade. Now, if you want to do that, that's fine. But you notice that I am indicating the side by giving you a basic scribble on where you need to be. And that's all I need from you. Just don't do one of these on the side. But you do need to at least scribble everything on that side to kind of show me that that's the side you're indicating as your answer. Question 2, again, standard form. We're going to take 2x, set it equal to 6, which means that x is equal to 3. See how easy that is? The graphing is really not that tough once you get it. Now we're going to take 3y and set it equal to 6, which means, of course, that y is equal to 2. So here, 2 steps up. Notice, though, that there is no line under the less or greater than symbol, which means that we should not be putting a true line here. So we're going to draw a dashed line across that region, and we're going to test 0, 0. Doing that means that we're going to now turn that into a 0, that into a 0. 6 stays 6. Is 0 bigger than 6? I don't think so. It would not be eating the 0 over the 6. That is false. And because that is false, it means that we're going to jump over the line and shade the other side. Again, I don't need a perfect shade, a perfect color. Just give me something that indicates that you are staying on that side of the line. Number 3 is slope-intercept form, which means I look at this number first. That is telling me to go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This number is telling me to go up 2 over 1. And then I look at the sign and recognize that there's no line under it, which means that I'm going to draw a dashed line. Oops, that works. And then I'm going to test 0, 0. 0 here, 0 here, minus 4. 0 greater than negative 4. Is 0 bigger than a negative? Remember, we talked about that the other day. That is true, which means that we stay on this side of the line. Alright. Number 4. Y is greater than or equal to x plus 3. Again, this is slope-intercept form, which means I look at that number first. That's telling me to go up 3. And this number with nothing on it means go up 1 over 1, because remember, x is equal to 1x because there's an invisible 1 there. Looking at this symbol, there is a line under it, which means that I am going to put a line under this also. And then I'm going to test 0, 0. 0 is greater than or equal to 0 plus 3. 0 is greater than or equal to 3. Is 0 bigger than 3? That is false, which means that I jump over the line and shade the other side. Alright, so go ahead and do me a favor, put your computers away and go ahead and start working on the second worksheet for the day. This sheet focuses on graphing inequalities. Be sure to pay attention to the type of line being drawn, and we'll probably start going over this with about 15 minutes left. Just make sure you get some questions answered so you can check yourselves to see if you're doing it right while you're working them out. Outside of that, good luck, and like I said, get that sheet. You can work together on that sheet. Just make sure you're working quietly and under control.